After the Lamborghini debacle and the Lakefront fiasco, the HOA's audacity reached new heights. One morning, I received a notice declaring that my lake bridge was illegal and had to be demolished immediately. I had crossed the line in their eyes simply by existing on my own land the way I wanted. Within days, a team of HOA contractors showed up with sledgehammers and power tools, ready to destroy the bridge that connected my ranch to the lake. By the time they were halfway through, the structure was a wreck, splintered boards and twisted supports scattered across the water. Most people might have panicked or called their lawyers, but I had a different plan. I calmly reviewed the property deeds, legal loopholes, and water rights. Then I set to work on a little payback. Using my knowledge of local infrastructure and a few carefully positioned pumps, I began draining the HOA's lakefront properties. Their pristine $5 million estates soon resembled a dried-up wasteland, mud and silt coating their lawns and docks. Panic spread through the HOA ranks as they tried to figure out what was happening. Emergency contractors were called, lawyers arrived, and even the mayor got involved, but by then it was too late. Their beautiful lakefront paradise had been turned into a barren pond, all because they had dared to destroy something on my property. Karen, of course, was in full meltdown mode. She stormed onto my ranch, flailing and screaming about authority and rules, demanding that I restore the water immediately. I just smiled and reminded her of the legal principle she had ignored. You don't destroy property that isn't yours, especially when you've been warned repeatedly. Her shouting only seemed to amuse my livestock. The bulls, previously mocked by the HOA as silly creatures, now seemed to cheer me on with low, rumbling snorts. The HOA president, who had been trying to maintain some semblance of control, decided to intervene. She drove her Lamborghini straight onto my property, thinking she could assert dominance or intimidate me. She didn't anticipate the trap I had set. A combination of reinforced posts, narrow gates, and a minor but perfectly positioned ditch caused her car to get stuck in the mud. She screamed for help, kicking the tires and waving her arms, while I casually walked over to assess the damage. With a single phone call, a tow truck arrived, but only after documenting her misadventure for legal purposes. Meanwhile, Karen dialed 911, insisting that I was committing crimes against her property. When the deputies arrived, they quickly realized that the HOA had overstepped its authority. My deeds, permits, and previous warnings to the HOA painted a clear picture. Every act of retaliation I had carried out was perfectly legal. One deputy even muttered under his breath, "I wouldn't want to mess with this ranch owner if I were them." Not content with legal victories, I added a personal touch to my retaliation. Using strategically timed pumps and valves, I made sure the water in their drained lakefronts receded just enough to reveal their private docks sinking, their lawns turning to mud, and their prized ornamental plants wilting. By the time they realized the full extent, the HOA was in total chaos. Meetings were called, tempers flared, and lawsuits were filed, but I had already anticipated all of them. That evening, Karen tried to salvage her pride by posting online about the injustice she had suffered. She shared photos of my drained lake as evidence of her own victimhood, but the internet quickly recognized the irony. Memes and videos of the situation went viral, highlighting her failed attempts to control my property and turning the HOA into the laughingstock of the community. By morning, her reputation was thoroughly tarnished, while I calmly enjoyed the lake's restored serenity. By the end of 2473, it was clear to everyone involved. The HOA had no idea who they were messing with. Every act of aggression, every attempt to assert authority, only resulted in their embarrassment, financial loss, and widespread ridicule. And I had reclaimed not just my bridge, but my dignity, my lake, and a definitive upper hand over the HOA that had dared to cross me.